And welcome to another episode of Expert Speak. I'm Michael Delon. Today I'm talking with Ron Latz. Ron, thanks for being here, brother.
Thanks so much, Michael. I appreciate it. It's going to be a fun one.
It is going to be a fun one because, well, Ron's a marketing guy just like me, but in a totally different way, which I really appreciate because we're going to have some fun conversations. So Ron runs a company called LegalFenix. He works with, he's a legal marketing consultant for law firms. And so I'm not going to spill the beans, but he approaches marketing and being a business partner with you a little differently than you might expect. So we're going to dive into that conversation. But Ron, as we do that, tell me, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
Michael, I've been in the legal space for about 15, 16 years. I started off with Reuters. I ultimately moved on, started my own side hustle or shop, if you will. I then moved on to help rebuild a smaller boutique legal marketing agency. And just throughout all that experience working with hundreds of firms, I wanted to go out on my own. I thought that there was a gap in the market,
Mm,
and I felt that Legal Phoenix could fill that void in acting as more of a neutral partner for lawyers as they kind of navigate the complexities of the vendor landscape and also try to figure out their entire marketing strategy, what's working, what's not working. So we offer consulting services as well as fractional CMO services exclusively for lawyers.
okay. All right. That's great. So let's unpack that a little bit because that's what I love about what you do. And what's a little different is you're a partner. You come in as a neutral partner, meaning you don't have a set agenda in your mind for what an attorney needs to do for marketing. When you come to the table, you're going to investigate and figure out what's going on and then provide unbiased decisions, directions. Unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about the vendor agnostic or just being vendor neutral. All that really
Okay.
means here is that I'm not selling the products and services that most of my law firms need to leverage in order to generate visibility online. We don't sell SEO. We are not managing ad campaigns on behalf of our clients or building them. We don't design or develop websites, right? We partner with the best in class across the industry to ensure that our clients get a quality product at a market competitive rate. And we
Mm-hmm.
found that this just puts us in better alignment with our clients because we're not selling what they need, right? I've
Right.
had a lot of experience. I've sold these products. I've purchased them on behalf of lawyers. We try to put ourselves in a position where it doesn't matter who you're working with, right? We just want to ensure that what you are investing in is producing the result that you expect.
Yeah. And because of your background, because you've done this for what, 15 years or so, you said, um, you there I say, you speak of the language of both sides. You're almost bilingual, meaning you speak attorney speak, but you also speak marketing speak. So you're in this middle ground where you can choose, manage the marketing components, whatever those may be, and translate that back to the attorney in language that they totally understand. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yes, we do certainly help law firms connect the dots, right? A lot of times the management of vendors, oversight of in-house resources is delegated and outsourced to me and my team. So not only are we helping develop strategy, ensuring that that strategy is aligned with their business goals and objectives, but we also understand there's a lot of tactical work and execution that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Many times, though, there isn't a single point of contact within the firm that either has the experience that we have or is got the time in order to translate amongst each side. We understand the marketing lingo, the jargon, and the acronyms, right? So when we're having meetings with the vendors to ensure that we're hitting our deliverables and whatever goals we've set out for a month, quarter, year, whatever it may be, we can then essentially go back and speak in plain English to the law firm so that they can understand, okay, what's working, what's not working, what are we testing, what are we learning, and then we keep that feedback loop open, which is so important so that the vendors know, are we hitting the mark? Do we need to adjust? Do we pivot? Things like that. So the firm feels like their investment is protected and safeguarded, and the agency feels like the lines of communication are always open, and they also have someone fighting in their corner because, listen, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to explain these types of tactics or initiatives or
Right.
things like that to where a non-marketing expert understands them.
Right. And sometimes, I mean, unfortunately, marketing sometimes takes a little bit of time to really begin producing results. And business owners, well, we don't like that. We want immediate. And so having that buffer there to help with understanding on both sides, I can only imagine helps the relationship between the vendor and the attorney. Fair?
We've been conditioned by Amazon Prime to get everything overnight or within 48 hours, instant satisfaction and gratification, right?
Right.
And with many marketing efforts, whether it be referral, organic SEO, community engagement, business development, relationship building, these are long-term plays, long-term
Right.
investments. You can't just flip a light switch and think, I'm going to get everything handed to me in one
Right.
sweep. Doesn't work that way.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And when you've got Ron and his team working with you, what you find, at least what I have found in marketing over and over and over again, is when you find something that works, the
Mhm.
longer you do it, the better results you get. And then you can go and add something else and something else. Have you found that over time? You've been doing this a long time. Is that a accurate thing to say?
Yeah, I think many businesses in general they try to do everything, a little bit of everything. What happens is then they're average or mediocre at best across multiple channels.
Right.
I do like to take more of a thoughtful, strategic approach with clients if they are, for example, maybe they're building on one particular channel. Let's maximize that channel. If we know that
Yeah.
it's working, let's ensure that we don't let it slip by the wayside for the new shiny object that just got released. Let's continue to nurture, feed it so that we can continue getting those types of results. And then over time, you can test out additional channels, right? You can apply the lessons that you've learned, but listen, these channels they've got their own little nuances and intricacies in order to be successful. Maybe you have a different segment of your audience there, so your messaging's got to be a little bit different. But still, instead of just jumping in and trying to boil the ocean, you look at this singularly and try to extract as much as you can before you go to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's something that because I want to talk about what's going on in the attorney's mind and heart before they reach out. Here's something that I've seen. I go to conferences, right, and we display our booths and our wares and all that. And the good thing is I'm the only book guy at 90% of these things, right?
Mhm.
But I look around at all the vendors, and there are a half a dozen SEO or website or and what happens is the attorney goes from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, and he finds somebody he relates with. Then I'm sure he takes back to his team. I've got it. I found can you talk to that and how you would almost insert yourself in that to say you don't have to do all that, lawyer. That's what unpack that because I see that happen conference after conference, and I can only imagine the havoc that is being wreaked on those law firms and the loss of growth they're experiencing because of that.
Listen, I can empathize with that as well as the visionary within my consultancy. I constantly have new ideas that I want to test and experiment with, right? But we at the end of the day, we've got a job to do, a service that we need to deliver to our clients, just like the managing partner or the owner of a law firm who is going to these conferences to educate themselves so that they feel informed. When
Right.
they come back rejuvenated, drinking the Kool-Aid, they're very excited about trying something new. It's just got to be taken in balance with what you might already be doing. There could be financial repercussions, right? You might have to have an investment into this channel.
Yeah.
It might conflict with some of the other things that you are doing. You have to understand how to coordinate all those efforts. So when the visionary of a firm is bouncing off all these ideas, it's our job to consolidate them, centralize them, see which ones kind of align most with their brand, with their messaging, with their positioning, and then come back with again a recommendation that we think is going to help lift all boats, right?
Yeah.
But
Right.
listen, I love it when they go to those conferences because then they are able to meet everybody. They could see what the market has to offer. You might have half a dozen or a dozen of the same types of agencies. It's just trying to figure out who is uh, got your best interest in mind.
Yeah. Well, that you use the word early. The way you work with a law firm owner is alignment. You really like to have great alignment, and I think that's because of your vendor neutral position.
Mhm.
You're there with the attorneys and that law firm's best interest in mind, right? We hear that so often, it's almost just becoming meaningless. But because of the way you have structured your consultancy, dare, dare I say, you've got nothing to offer except your expertise and the value that you bring to say, okay, what are we trying to make happen? And
Mhm.
how are we going to do it? And oh, by the way, I'm going to run the gauntlet
Mhm.
and help you, Mr. or Mrs. Attorney, spend more time doing what you're great at. Because this is what I'm great at. Fair?
I'll tell you a very quick story about when I jumped into the legal industry here. I was with Thomson Reuters. At that time, you had the rise of the Avvo legal directory. Reuters was also in the midst of acquiring super lawyers. And this is when I was it was known as a client development consultant. I was a sales rep, right? So I was responsible for helping, my firms basically grow as much as they possibly can. But I also had a responsibility from a sales perspective to hit a quota, right? That being said, I always found that the best way to approach working with the law firm is just to tell them exactly what's going to be best for them, regardless of how it would potentially benefit me. Because my goal was to always be that single point of contact, no matter what. When something went down around sales and marketing, I wanted the firm to call me first.
Yeah.
So when I would offer, or at least recommend and propose that they would buy these other products or profiles, they would kind of scratch their head because at that point it was with fine law, like super lawyers was something different. I clearly wasn't selling for Avo, and I'm going in and telling all these lawyers to buy somebody else's products and not mine. They always thought
Mm,
there was a catch. They were like, there's something else behind this here. Like, why is this guy doing this? And the reason why I did it is because those directories were showing up frequently and prominently on the search page results. So if
yeah.
I told them to purchase something that was going to generate results for them, they'll remember that. And
Absolutely.
I could never really escape that bias, understandably so, whether I was with Fine Law or the smaller boutique marketing agency, because I was still offering those products and services. So that's why I wanted to completely untether myself from it so that the lawyer always knew that my loyalty was with them. I was never going to sell them the product, but I was still going to defend the agency if the firm was in the wrong. We've got to look at
Oh,
brutal facts. We've got to look
yes.
at what these conditions are and address them accordingly and not live in a false reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Boy, so well said. Um, let's talk about the attorney who hasn't reached out to you yet, but
Okay.
they probably should. What's going on in their life, in their firm, in their head, their heart? What are they experiencing on a regular basis that's kind of those red flags or yellow flags to go, maybe Ron could help me with this?
Many of them are just overwhelmed with the responsibility of owning and managing the marketing strategy, whether it's previously developed or they've never developed one at all, or it's just a bunch of random marketing and just tactics jumbled up together. When they want a little bit more clarity and ensure that the dollars that they're putting into these marketing channels are producing the outcomes that they expect, they typically start asking themselves, who is someone that can guide me through this process, like navigate the complexities of the vendor landscape, and also someone that has experience and success in helping law firms generate more revenue and
Yeah,
cases.
yeah,
That's, at the forefront, one of the simplest. There are other situations where the marketing team is growing. They've got a lot of internal resources and they just don't have the manpower or the bandwidth to give them the support that and direction that they really need,
right.
right? We live and breathe this stuff every single day. We love talking shop and strategizing, but we also need to ensure that, we're getting the deliverables done.
Yeah,
So not only is it to help with some internal accountability, but also with their vendors and their partners to ensure that the feedback loop is created, lines of communication are kept open. And then there's others that just want to kind of hit the reset button, Michael.
mm,
They've been in a relationship, maybe with a vendor that has run its course. Maybe they want to try out another channel. Maybe they're attempting to move into a new market and they need a go-to-market strategy. So they would bring us in on a consulting basis to walk them through that, do the due diligence, the competitive research, and we try to arm them with as much information as possible before they go and throw
yeah,
hard-earned dollars
absolutely.
into, a marketing campaign.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, that's you really span the gap there, and I love how you mentioned you can work with a firm that's growing that maybe doesn't have a marketing team, and it's just the entrepreneur, right? Or you can work with an established firm that actually has a few people in marketing, but they really need some oversight, some direction, maybe,
Mhm.
and some alignment, even internally, because that can get out of whack. And you bring such a I'm trying to find the right words, a clarity. It's like you've broken through the cloud level and you can see things so much clearer, but you're bringing in that C-suite perspective because
Mhm.
you're in alignment with the owner to go, okay, what are we trying to make happen here?
Mhm.
How do we make that happen? Here's a go-to-market strategy. I got this. We're going to report back all the time, and I'm going to make sure that there's great accountability on both sides so that we can reach those objectives and generate more profits, serve more clients, and all of that. Is that a good summary?
It is. And the ones that don't necessarily have internal marketing resources to begin with, a lot of times we're brought in to help them build that team,
Mm-hmm.
right? The firm is going to do, your typical values and cultural interviews to ensure that they fit, within that firm. We help them out with more technical assessments and make sure that they've had the experience that they claim that they have in a particular channel. And then we help them build that team. Sometimes, once it's built, we hand over the keys. Now they can run the show. Other times they want to keep us in a consulting capacity just to continue offering insight from a neutral perspective.
Yeah, that's awesome. So many opportunities there to bring, dare I say, wisdom into the marketing world that is so filled with knowledge. And right?
There is, and I've said this before, so I apologize for repeating myself here. Admitted I don't know everything, but I've got 15 plus years of experience, a highly experienced team. So even though we don't know it all, we will share everything that we do know, and
Yeah.
that's just those conversations are really important to bounce ideas off of and figure out which way you want to head.
Yeah. And you have 15 years of experience in the legal world. Therefore, dare I say, all the vendors, all the players, all the best ones that you've already at one level pre-vetted. Not that you're going to say, well, you have to always go with A. No, we're on here's A, B, and C, and based on what you're doing, I'm going to choose B this time or recommend B. Let's have those conversations because you have the relationships. And I think that's one thing that we really want to highlight is this is not transactional as much as is relationship because of what you've cultivated over the years that you're a commodity known in the legal marketing world, but you know the other players, and that makes it a little bit easier to navigate down this pathway that you are serving the law firm for, right?
Every firm's makeup is going to be a little bit different. They're all unique and they all have different goals and objectives. So that
Yeah,
means that not every single agency is going to be the fit for all of those firms. Now,
100%.
there are, man, lost count. There are always new entrants into the market, Michael. I don't know every single one of them out there, right? But I can tell you that my client base spans across dozens of different marketing agencies, clients that I've worked with and are now on their own, running their own shop, and the ones that I currently work with today, they're all with different marketing vendors. Listen, depending upon how many internal resources you have, if you need like white glove support, high touch, maybe you need a lower touch, right? I got to evaluate all of these things to try to make a recommendation to a partner that I think is going to be best fit. And we've had a lot of luck with that. I don't jump into an engagement trying to launch this major change management effort because it is disruptive. It
Right.
does impact normal state and normal flow of business for your marketing operations. When it's needed, we do it. If not, we don't need to rattle any cages. We come at it from a highly collaborative perspective because we know there's going to be instances where the firm was at fault and the agency just needs somebody else and fighting in their corner to keep things on track.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, brother, you bring so much to the table. I love the perspective that you bring with LegalFenix as a consultancy, a chief marketing officer, but you really have found, I think, a unique spot to come alongside of an attorney to bring alignment and to pull together the right marketing players for that attorney, and then to be there to manage it, to guide and direct, to build a team, whatever they need to do. So, man, I'm glad that we got connected. I'm glad that my audience knows, Ron, that you're there. How would somebody, an attorney who's thinking about all of this and maybe just in the throes of marketing, to go, I need to reach out and have a conversation. I need to know more about Ron, and where would they go?
You could check out legalfenix.com. That's the website. There's resources there. There's guides. Obviously, you could submit a form and we can have a very unbiased conversation, if you will. I'm also sharing as much as I can on LinkedIn, posting almost daily about things to avoid, strategies to implement, as well as some red flags that you might want to make sure are not present when you're evaluating different relationships.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to grab those. I'll have those in the show notes. So if you're dealing with cases or on your way to court or whatever it is, go to the show notes and click on the links to get to LegalFenix so that you can understand Ron a little bit more and how he and his team can really help you with marketing your law firm by having greater alignment with an unbiased partner. I love that. Ron, man, thank you for thanks for being my guest on Expert Speak. It was tons of fun, and thanks for doing what you do to really help a ton of attorneys.
I appreciate the invite, Michael. It was a pleasure. Thanks so much.
You are welcome. Thanks for listening to Expert Speak. Tune in again next week for another great episode. Take care and God bless.